Sharing with you in this video how to build self-trust and actually follow through with who you say you're going to be, because there's going to be many times in your life where you don't feel like doing the thing that you said you were going to do. You just don't want to do it. You might come up with all sorts of reasons in terms of why you can't do it, why you're not able to, and even though you said you were going to do it, even though that you told yourself you had this plan and that you're fully committed and that here's what it is that you have to do, you come up with an excuse in terms of why not to. I'm going to share with you in this video how to not do this anymore so that you can start to build that self-trust where now you actually believe in your word. You actually believe in what you say you're going to do. So if you tell yourself that you're going to do something, you believe that you're actually going to follow through until the end, until you actually finish the thing that you said you were going to do and that you actually said that you were going to follow through with. So the first thing that I want to share with you in this video in terms of how to actually do this is to understand that I believe a powerful concept is to take action through resistance. So even if you feel resistance, it's not that you need to force your way through the resistance, but you just take action anyway, even if you don't feel like it. Because I want to tell you right now that there's going to be many times, that you just don't feel like it. You just don't want to do it. You don't want to wake up in the morning sometimes to go do the work that you know you have to do. Sometimes you're going to feel a lot of resistance. You're going to feel a lot of doubt. You're going to feel a lot of worry. You're going to feel a lot of uncertainty. I think that people need to remember that uncertainty is our natural state of being. Nothing has ever been certain, You can build, certainty, this illusion of certainty. You can build this illusion of security through consistent action over time. And I think that if there was a thing that we could call security, how would you build that? Well, you would take action every single day for multiple years and you would have security in you taking the action. It wouldn't even be in the success or the result necessarily. It would be your self-trust and your ability to take action despite you not wanting to. And that's what I think is going to separate somebody that's very successful from somebody that is not successful in any area, is their willingness to take action regardless of their emotion. Because emotions are not a good indicator in regard to if you should be taking action. It has nothing to do with if you should be taking action. Now, I'm not saying that at the end of the day, there isn't an element of trusting your intuition. I think that paradoxically so, even though this might seem contradictory, at the end of the day, there's nothing more powerful than trusting your own intuition and trusting what you truly feel. Because nobody can convince you of anything that doesn't feel right to you, and you should never allow anybody to do so. Don't let anybody infiltrate your state of being to the point where you don't even trust your feeling to believe in the beliefs that resonate for you. That's not something that you should be okay with. So I'm not saying to take action through the resistance necessarily in the sense that you sacrifice your values and you sacrifice your state of being where you're not generating a state of calmness and peace from within yourself as you live your life, where you're self-generating from within, self-generating peace from within. I'm not saying not to do that. I'm saying that you can still do all of that, but that when you feel resistance, again, snap yourself out of the resistance and take action anyway to feel better. Because you understand that if you take action, even when you don't feel like it, every single time you do that, you're going to start to build momentum to the point where you don't even remember why you didn't feel like it. At the beginning, you didn't really want to do it, and then when you start doing it, you can't stop. You don't even know why you didn't want to do it to begin with. And I think that this happens very quickly when you can learn to simply take action through the resistance consistently, day in, day out, again and again and again and again, until you start to build more self-trust. So every single time that you take action when you don't feel like it, when you have doubt, when you have worry, when you have uncertainty, you're going to start to be more calm and peaceful in the uncertainty. And you begin to trust yourself, even if you don't necessarily know that you're doing the exact right thing. You start to build that self-trust, and you start to understand that you're going to build more self-trust even if you don't even know what you're doing sometimes, because you just take action. You might not know if you're doing the exact right thing, but you're definitely a person that just simply takes more action than the average person, so that you learn lessons faster. You learn lessons way faster because there's that person thinking about the perfect choice and when they should start and, should they do it on this day? Sometimes they don't do it. Half committed one day, 100% committed the next day. That's most people, right? Is they give 100% commitment one day And then over time, they slowly start to lose commitment. Maybe it's 80% to 70 to 60, 20. And then before you know it, it's been multiple months and there hasn't been a single day where they've worked on their dream. And this is not going to, this is going to happen to you, unfortunately, if you don't take action through resistance. I think that's what's unfortunately going to start to happen unless we start to become comfortable with this idea of resistance is not a bad thing. It's simply a cue and a reminder that's reminding you to realign back with your vision and what it is that you actually care about. So resistance is nothing more than your cue to take action, to realign with your values. So if there's something that's contradicting your values and you have a point in your life to choose and make a decision between you going in alignment with your values and then you sacrificing your values, you remember that choosing the path of resistance and the harder path usually means that you're sacrificing your values. And I'm not inviting and encouraging any person to live their life in this way. What I would invite and encourage every single person to do is to always be conscious of when you're about to make that choice. When you're about to make that choice of living against your value system and what it is that you truly care about most, just remember that what you can do instead is take action through the resistance. Do not allow the resistance to define your state of being, because you just understand that that resistance is nothing more than doubt that is the past, really. It's just doubt. It's the past keeping this a lens on reality, almost where you can't even see a clear direction of the future anymore that you decided for yourself, because you have a lens of the past and it's like everything's blurry through this lens of the past. And that's not a way to live life, because that resistance is the past. That resistance is the old unconscious identification with that identity that you used to be. It's the identification with the thought. It's the attachment to the thoughts. This attachment to thoughts is not allowing you to be that person that you actually want to be, because you're believing in the resistance. You feel the energy of resistance, you become the resistance. Or rather than seeing doubt for what it really is, as just nothing more than an emotion of the past, what happens is that we attach to the doubt and we believe it to be who we actually are. We believe the doubt to be our identity. We believe that anxiety and fear is who we actually are. No, it's nothing more than a collection of beliefs that if you act against those and you take action anyway, you can prove them wrong. Prove your fear wrong. Are you open to the possibility that you can take action against your fear and simply prove it wrong? A lot of people aren't. A lot of people aren't even open to the possibility that they can prove their fear wrong. They're so attached to their fear being true. It's like, go against it and just see what happens. See what happens if you go against your fear. Prove that your insecurities are not real by taking action against them and seeing what happens. And I'm not saying to be so bold and unwise that you're not being, wise in your life. Don't be unwise. But what I'm saying is that just when you feel resistance, actually the wisest choice that you can make is simply to follow through and commit to the plan that you decided for yourself, regardless of your feelings about it, because you decided on something and that's the wisest choice to make. Follow through with the plan. Stop making reasons as to why you can't do it, because remember, you already decided on something and it's time for you to take that resistance as, once again, just another cue to realign to who you want to be once again. Now, the second thing that I want to share with you in this video, in terms of how to build self-trust and actually follow through with who you say you want to be, is to understand that a lot of people want to change their beliefs before they get a result. But in my personal opinion, one thing that you can do is just remove this belief completely. One of the things that I think is really powerful is to just simply understand that once you get a result, then your belief can shift. So once you start to make a certain amount of money per month consistently, you believe that you can be that person that makes that money consistently. Once you achieve a result, you believe it's possible. Once you maintain that for a few months, you believe that you're a person that can maintain it. It's really just about getting results sometimes and not making excuses in terms of not achieving them. Because the honest, cold, and blunt truth sometimes is that in terms of you getting the results that you want, I believe, and I'm going to make a bold claim here, that you shouldn't really kid yourself here. You know what you have to do to get what you want in your life. Like, let's just be honest here. And if you don't, you know who to reach out to. You know that you have resources to go figure it out and go figure out how to. We all know what to do in our life. There's many resources everywhere at your disposal. You know deep in your heart probably even know what to do without these resources. You don't need more resources. You just need to start taking action. You just need to take the first step. The first step might seem difficult, but often small steps lead to big changes over time if you stay consistent. And consistency is the thing that most people lack in their life. See, anybody can just be motivated for a few days and then stop after a few days and go back to their regular habits. Anybody can do that. Most people do that. Most people stay consistent for a few days and they go back to their regular identity and they do it again and then they go back and they do it again and they go back and they never stay consistent and they never make a real change in their life. How do you break this cycle? You need to decide that you are a person that is just simply that is going to act in accordance with your intention every single day without attachment, and do so willingly and committedly and humbly, in the sense that you're not attached to who you're being because you know that you own nothing. But understand that while you're doing this process, do you want to become more confident? Do you want to build a stronger belief? Then get results. It's not about needing the results to happen to take action. That's absolutely not the case. You can take action simply because you decided on a plan. But if you want to feel more confident and build a stronger belief, keep taking action until you get the result. You don't need to have belief to take action. Let me just make that really clear. You might not believe that it's possible to get a result, but why not just take action and do it and you just see what happens? You don't need to feel confident to get a result. You just need to take action sometimes. People think that they need to feel confident and feel amazing and things need to be peaches and amazing, and it's like, no, it's really not the case. Sometimes in order to get results, you just need to do actions that get results. And it's just that simple. If you want to get a result, you need to do the ABCD action that gets the result. If you want a certain outcome, you need to do something. It's just that simple sometimes. And then as you do more things that get more results, you start to build confidence and belief. And that's a really grounded way to look at it. Of course, if you watch my videos, you know that the next thing that I'm going to say is that, of course, there's another deep belief that's grounded in the present moment that has nothing to do with any achievements, results, or any external things happening. Because remember, all of these things are temporary. And remember the famous quote that this too shall pass has a lot of wisdom and meaning, because nothing that you experience in this present moment is going to be something that is going to be permanent. None of it is going to be permanent. It's all going to fall away. So I think that the best thing that we can do is be humble enough to be aware of this. But while this is happening, understand that if you really want to build more confidence, you just need to get more results sometimes and just start taking action. It's not about how you feel. It's not about, are you ready? It's not about even needing to feel ready whatsoever. And it definitely has nothing to do with a necessity to take action. There's no necessity to take action. It's just do you want to get the result? Then take the action. And you don't need to have belief to get results. You can get results, get belief after. I think that's a big paradigm shift that can shift a lot of people from inaction, from being stuck in a state of stagnation and inaction. And I think that before I move on to the next point, that being stuck in a state of inaction and stagnation, for me personally, there's nothing more in my life. Of course, there's many things in life that can bring a lot more suffering, don't get me wrong. But it's for me on a daily basis, when I'm talking about how I feel on a daily basis, one of my biggest pet peeves is just really overthinking. And should I do this path? Or should I go in this direction? Or should I do this? And it's am I making the right choice? Am I making the wrong choice? Should I go here? Should I go there? And it's inaction. It's the stagnant. It's for me, I want to make one thing clear. What is going to bring a lot of suffering to a person's life? What's going to bring a lot of misery to a person's life? It's their inability to take action because they feel like they can't. They're stuck in a state of feeling stuck. They can't take action. They can't move forward. They can't be better. That's a huge problem. And oftentimes people believe this, they feel this way because they believe that they have to change their belief first to then get a different result. They need to reprogram their mind somehow, or do some meditation, or change their thought process somehow, and then they can take action and feel better after. No, it's sometimes it's the other way around. You need to be the person that is willing to just take action, get results, and then notice that your beliefs start to shape and change and transform and morph as you begin to take action and follow through with the plan, even when you have doubt, even when you have worry, even when you don't feel like it. You prove to yourself that those doubts are wrong, and then your belief gets stronger as you do that. And you can hold in the fact that you are not your body, you are not your mind, you are the conscious observer of all of it as you do this, and hold in that confidence of who you truly are, which is the consciousness that is prior to any thought, any emotion, anything that you've ever felt, and it's always going to be there. It always has been there truthfully, and it's never going to go away unless you forget that it is the case and you choose to not be focused on it and give away your power. Now, the third and final thing that I want to share with you in this video is to understand that really one of the best ways that I think to build self-trust and to actually follow through with who you say you're going to be is to understand that you're going to make mistakes. And what do you do in that situation? You forgive yourself and you refocus on the goal and you continue on the goal once again. Because many successful people, it's not that they don't have problems. It's not that they don't stop taking action and they don't have challenges. It's that these people, they simply are more willing to get back into the program much faster than other people. Most people, what happens is that when they stop being who they said they're going to be, they judge themselves, they get angry at themselves, they get upset at themselves, and then that leads to a downward spiral where they stop taking action. And they get upset with themselves. And then it's like, oh, why did I stop taking action? I shouldn't have done that. This shouldn't be happening to me. But understand that while you're in this victim mindset, you're still not taking action. You're still in a state of inaction. So you're still stuck. So while you're feeling stuck about feeling stuck, which makes you feel more stuck. And guess what? You're still not making any results happen in your life because you're stuck in a negative loop. How do you break out of this loop? You have to forgive yourself for not following the program, for not being committed, and then refocus and continue back on the plan. Understand that that's a normal part of the process, and that attaching is only going to get you, further away from the result. So the best thing that you can do is simply to realign back with the plan and understand that you're allowed to make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. It's about how quickly you bounce back from those mistakes and how quickly you're willing to recommit to the plan. Refocus on the plan. Be the person that you said you were going to be, because being the person that you said you were going to be doesn't have a lot to do with there not being problems, not being challenges, not being situations, not having negativity. Because remember, if you're a human being, every single human being is going to have problems, is going to have challenges, is going to have issues, there's going to have negativity, they're going to have problems, and all these things. There's no getting away from negativity, pain, and challenges as the part of the human experience. But if you want to take these things with a grain of salt, not let them control you, you need to refocus yourself when the problems happen and learn to just forgive yourself when you make a mistake. Learn to understand that making mistakes and falling into the fear, into the doubt, then into the resistance, and then the insecurity is a normal part of the human existence. But then again, how quickly you jump back from that is going to make a difference between a successful person and a person that is continuing this same negative cycle of who they used to be, not allowing themselves to be who they actually want to be. So if you want to build self-trust, learn to forgive yourself faster. Forgive yourself for making mistakes, for not being who you said you were going to be, for doing something wrong, for doing something that you believe is incorrect, or whatever it is the case. Just let it go and get back on the plan. That's going to make you successful, I believe. I'm not promising it, but I do strongly believe that that's going to make a successful person, That's going to be the person that actually has better results in the long run, because they're not going to be stuck in a state of perfectionism and things needing to be perfect. They're just taking consistent action regardless of their fluctuating